Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are at the spot, the location, the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We had one of the top 10 on Listen Notes. We are winning it. We are killing it. Today is no different. Today we are going to be visiting with Kim W. Martin. This woman is a trailblazer. She comes from the industry of engineering. That's women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We want to encourage our young women to go full throttle in that area. She has a lot of experience in HR, helping people figure out where they want to be, what direction, mentoring them. And she's also the contributor in not one, not two, but three anthologies. She has an ebook, and we want to talk to her about reignite her light. What does that mean? So many women's light has been turned down, but not in 2024 because, baby, we are on fire. And we're going to talk to her about that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Kim?
I am so good and I'm so excited to be here today. So thank you for having me.
Well, you are
I've been looking
looking
forward
like,
to it.
thank you. You were looking like brand new money. I told you that, just as pretty as you can be. And you got this beautiful $1 million smile. I can tell you are in your season.
Well, I love it. I appreciate all of that. And you as well. I'm loving those frames, those glasses.
Girl,
I
I
like
love the
eyeglasses.
exotic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to make a statement here, like here I come, okay? Because that's what women are doing right now. They are making a statement. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about you and your history and experience and how you show up in the world.
Sure. So my background, so I grew up as number one of four girls. So that means I'm the oldest of four. And there are no boys in our family, so we have all girls. And for most of that time, I was told and taught that I was a role model. So in my young mind, that translated into being perfect. So now that's one thing. That's a part of my background. So today I'm a coach and I'm a consultant helping women leaders who really are feeling a disconnect between their professional success and their personal fulfillment. And I really help them to discover what it is they want and why, especially at this stage of the game, so that we can really look at, how we can get them on a path to where they're able to move in what it is they really want authentically and, lead better, triple their time, trust themselves more, trust their team, and make faster decisions and just be able to kind of flow and go versus dealing with some of the stress and pressure that I know oh so well.
Well,
So just go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that that's a big undertaking. That's a big challenge because
It is.
so many women right now have got their foot on the pedal
Yeah,
and they are going full throttle. But
yeah,
what happens is sometimes you miss the mark.
yeah.
Sometimes you're going too fast.
Yes, yeah.
And there are key indicators and signs that are detour signs. Sometimes you got to
Hmm.
slow down, you got to go to the left, you got to go to the right, you got to put in reverse. Talk to us a little bit about that and some of the challenges that you might have had in your career because, again, being a woman in STEM, an African American woman, a woman of a particular age, I mean, you're a trailblazer. Absolutely. I want to give you flowers right now.
Well,
So
thanks so
there has
much for
been some
that.
challenges there's been some challenges there. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about, some of the pitfalls that you might have run across.
Yeah, there were some challenges. I think that one of the things with me is that I made it seem effortless on the outside and on the inside, it wasn't. So I had a successful career, but deep down inside, something was missing for me a lot of that time. And one of the biggest reasons was because my parents decided I would become an engineer. I had an extreme love for the arts, and I still do to this day. And I really wanted to be singing and dancing on Broadway and acting in movies in Hollywood. But they were like, you need a job, and we have three more miles behind you. And so, we don't want you struggling or always having to write home for money. So we're going to send you to engineering school. They literally invited someone over to the house, had a conversation. Before I knew
Wow.
it, I was packed up, headed off to engineering school. And so, since I couldn't change their mind, I said, you know what, let me just go along with it. And then I'll get out of school, I'll have this degree, I'll give it to them, and I can go on and have my life. So, what happened was I got the degree and I got the job, and the money got good and the perks were awesome. And, before you know it, I was in this job for many years. And I found myself working anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week
Mm.
regularly. So, I was
Woo.
losing sleep. I was battling stress, perfectionism, imposterism, anxiety, and it was so intense at one point. And no one knew this. This was a secret that I kept for the most part. No one knew this, but I had a team of five alternative healthcare providers just to kind of help me to survive. I had a naturopath, an iridologist, an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, and who did I leave? Oh, chiropractor. I also had a chiropractor. So I traveled a lot, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like only 5'1". And so plane seats are not designed well for people 5'1". So when you're traveling internationally a lot, etc., it doesn't matter what class you're flying in. It's just uncomfortable after a while.
Right.
So one day I found myself, on the massage table, and I would get these massages, and everybody thought it was so great. You're always getting massages. That must be nice. But I really needed them, and they were always very intense. And so this time it was my muscles were just so tight
Mhm.
that as she was, getting the going deep and just trying to get all the knots out. By the way, she was the only person I knew in the world that could ever get them all out in one setting.
Wow.
And shout out to her. But but as she was trying to get them out, tears just started to flow down my face because I just remember thinking, God, there just has to be a better way. There has to be
Mm.
another way. I should not have to endure this much pain just to keep going, to get up to go to work next week. And April, really what made it worse was for the most part I could hide the stress and I did well, but it started to show up on my skin. And I had these dark spots and discolorations that over time I just couldn't hide. I mean, you can't wear long sleeves forever. And that actually made me think about my sisters. Remember, I'm a role model for them. So by now they've gone to college, and even my younger one is out of college and has a job. And two of us have the same undergrad engineering degree, exact same degree from the
Mm.
same school. But I just thought, man, what kind of role model is this? And what am I showing them by making it look so effortless? And I just felt like if they were experiencing anything like what I was experiencing, then I was partially to blame.
Mm.
So I had to, you know, change some things. And so I became very deeply introspective and just started asking myself, who are you? What is it that you really want and why? And that kind of brought me to where I am, today, just asking those questions and taking some time to answer them. There's a quote by Kevin Costner that I love, and it says, when the defining moment comes, either you define the moment or the moment defines you.
Mm. Mm.
And so at that point, I knew that I had to define the moment. I was literally living for everyone else, right? And everyone else's expectations. My parents were proud. They didn't really know what I did, but they were proud. They didn't really know how to explain it. Um, but they were proud, and they made, I never faulted them because I know they did their best. They wanted the best for us. And so you can't hold that against them. But I was just in a space, I loved the work that I did. And I don't know if it was the environment or just me, probably a combination of the two. It was
And you
the
were
industry.
smart. Come on now. Yeah. I mean, now again, I know that you wanted to be in the arts and entertainment. I get that. But
Yes.
mathematics, science, engineering, logical
Yeah.
thinking, critical thinking, philosophy,
Yeah.
you're smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, but I did. I loved math. and I loved science and nearly blew out a window in my bedroom when I was a child with a chemistry set that my mom told my dad not to buy. So they had their own exchange about that.
Mm.
But I did love math. I did love science, and because it made sense to me. Even in my acting, my dancing, and all those things, I'm very like logically creative or creatively logical, however you want to look at it. But things just it made sense to me, and so like I said, I became just very deeply introspective, and that's kind of where I got. That's how I got to where I am today with the work that I do. Along my career, I was invited to run the Women's Initiative for a Fortune 50 corporation and help get more women to the top. And as I was doing this work, one day a brilliant woman engineer said no, she did not want to get to the top. And that was the first time that I began to question, where I was. So shortly thereafter is when I was getting that massage and those tears came to my eyes. And that just kind of brought along that defining moment and about a change for me. And so I didn't exit my career immediately. I had to get clear because I believe that clarity is queen. And if you're not clear, then, my grandmother used to say, if you're not sure, just march time, right? Just figure, kind of try and figure some things out before you just make an emotional, irrational kind of a decision. But I did have to take my health into my own hands. And I got to tell you that it was literally phenomenal making the changes that I made. And I was able to get myself clear. But a big thing was I thought about my sisters, but I also thought about other women who were where I was. And I really wanted to be able to help them. So that's when I created Reignite Her Light to be able to go back and really help some of the other amazing women that were dealing with some of the challenges that I was dealing with. And I kept mine hidden, but so many people had come to me when I was in that role, helping them get to the top, that I knew that I wasn't alone. So that's a bit of my backstory and how I got to where I am today.
And it affects your personal life, not just your
Mhm.
professional life, but intimacy, relationships, friendships,
Yeah,
even friendships again with your family because you love your family so much, but now you're keeping this dreaded secret.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
thinking everything is fine, you coming in, we going on vacation, you write the big checks if you need to, have to worry about her rent's paid, all that stuff. But deep down inside,
Yeah,
you're still nesting.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're working with these women, these high
yeah,
profile women, and women are on fire right now. You know it like I know it. Um,
yeah.
but again, there has to be a sense of balance because that is why we are the WO in front of the men, are the want man.
Yeah.
It is a certain gravitas, it is a certain love, it's a certain innocence, it's a certain preciousness that a woman carries. And
Hmm.
it's hard to always carry that in your briefcase you know, with your red bottom shoes and your pencil skirt. What do you tell a
Yes.
woman that's struggling with herself right now? She wants to be all, she wants to be it. What would you say to Vice President Kamala Harris right now when she's in that space?
Wow. What would I say to her in this space? So, April, one of the things that is so important to me is honesty, integrity, and authenticity. And so I firmly believe in, everything that you do, you want to have it rooted in integrity. Politics is a space where where I believe that can exist. However, I don't know that it always does exist. And one thing I learned growing up is if you tell the truth, then you don't have to remember the lies that, are spread
All
everywhere.
right now.
So
All right.
when you think about politics, there's so many. I mean, we're all hearing it. Let's face it. Let's just be straight up front. We're all hearing it. You know, things that she might have said, maybe she's taking a different position now. I've seen so many compilations of video, from various things when she was maybe running for senator or in the presidential race with Joe Biden. So, it calls things into question, right? And that's on both sides because it's politics and it's politicians. And so, and it may sound pretty simplistic and whatnot to tell the truth so you don't have to remember the lies. But if you base your life on integrity, then people trust you, people can count on you. You don't really even need these massive marketing messages to sway people.
Right.
And I'm a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming,
Hmm.
and watching some of the speeches at the conventions and listening to the sleight of mouth and various things that are going on, there were some embellishments made, right?
Oh,
And
of course.
so
But now, but in her defense, I want to say this. I don't call it politics. I call it politricks. Okay.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
And that is, that is what it is. And another thing, you got a right to change your mind.
You do have a
Okay.
right to change your mind.
Based upon whatever the situation may be. I mean, hell, the red shoes look good until you put on a purple dress. They didn't look good with them. So you decide to change your mind and put on purple shoes. I get that. Integrity is key. And you
Integrity.
cannot be all things to all people.
You cannot,
I
right?
had a
Hey,
concern
been there,
because
tried that, okay?
exactly, I had a concern on, convictions that were made for low level drug offenders here, by her administration. But then I had to look and say, you know what? She wasn't a public defender, she was a prosecutor.
Hmm.
And that's your job. And you got to do what you got to do. So, not just that, but on the other side, there's a whole lot of flip flopping. What people
Hmm.
have to do is think about honesty. Go back to your childhood when your parents taught you right from wrong, good
Yes.
from evil, the truth from a lie.
Yeah.
Because people are going to manipulate any situation, not just this one, but any situation to suit their needs
Yeah.
and to put them in that position. And like you say, if you tell the truth from the get go, you don't have to remember the lie.
Right.
But you talking so cotton picking much that you forget what you're saying. So when you're working with your clients and
Yes.
you want this individual, woman, sometimes I'm sure that you work with men if they're afforded the luxury of working with you. They're trying. Well,
Not
I mean,
often, but
it is.
yes, men can benefit as well.
Of
Yes.
course, they can
Yes.
benefit. They came from a
What's
woman.
good for
That's
mama, as they say, is good for everybody.
absolutely, absolutely. And there's so many things that we can learn. But as women, if we
Hmm.
don't stop the classism, if we don't stop the sexism, if we don't try to compete with the man, but show up as a woman and bring what
Hmm.
it is that we are to the table, to bring our smarts, to give each other our flowers, to love
Yes.
on your sister, to encourage her, to motivate her. I don't care if she's white, if she's black, if she's Asian,
Right.
that is still your sister. And that is what is happening in the world is so divisive. Allow people to agree to disagree and not be disagreeable. Really?
Yes. That's very rich, and I absolutely agree. And we don't have to agree on everything to still have an amiable, a prosperous, a beneficial, a meaningful relationship. And so again, when I go back to integrity, when you go into a relationship, what are you looking for? Are you looking to take only? Or are you looking to give? Are you looking to add value? Just get value? I think relationships should be, for the most part, mutually beneficial. Now, there may be a period where I'm bringing more benefit to you or you're bringing more to me, but I am in this and I know that there is value that I can bring and you can count on me. And, pardon my nose, I'm having a little itchy allergy thing going on here. But I take relationships very seriously. I've had some people to exit my life, because of I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I am a registered independent. I've been
I
that way
am
for
too.
many, many years.
I
Okay.
am too.
And
And I have
so,
a right to change my mind.
and there are some people who don't understand that, or, if I go this way or that, there's people who don't get it. And but the thing you should get is just like your vote is yours to vote and you have the right and it's a freedom that has been afforded to you, so is mine. And so I'm not going to kill our relationship because we happen to have voted differently on an issue or for a person or whatever it might be at any given time. We should be able to agree to disagree in a mature manner and go on, right? And still continue our relationship. But it's really interesting over the past couple of elections, there have been a few people who have not necessarily agreed with me on that. And I'm good, right? Because if you stay out of, without it being integrous, then we don't have a real relationship that we can grow and be mutually beneficial to one another.
Absolutely.
So
And
that is key.
what I like too is I like to bring opposing point of views to the table because there's
Yes.
something I can learn.
Yes. Yes.
There
Yes.
is
Yeah.
something that I can learn
Yeah.
from you. Why do you feel so strongly? Is there something I'm missing? I
Yes.
don't want to
Yes.
be so rooted into my dogma or what I have been taught or what I've been trained or my circle of influence.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
people here in the United States that have never been outside of the country and don't have a passport.
Maybe never even been out outside of their city or their state. There are
Girlfriend,
people like
wait a minute,
that.
but they quick to tell you what's going on with the rest of the world,
Right.
and what's
And
going
haven't
on,
left a 50-mile radius, right?
know, and they don't know. Again, I'm world
Right.
travel, and when
Yeah.
I go, I immerse myself
Yeah.
in that culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't pack my American
Yeah.
because I want to learn, I want to
Yeah.
see, and the food is rich, and the conversation is rich,
And
but
that
the
is a
humanity
respectful
is
thing
rich.
to do, right? That
And
is the
there is a
respectful thing
respectful
to do.
thing to do. I mean, the
Yes.
first thing you do if you're traveling with a group is they are going to give you the social norms. This is
Mm-hmm.
what you say. This is what you don't say. This is the hand you shake with. You don't
Yes.
throw the gum on the street. All these kind of all these kind of things. But people don't want to do that, and they don't want to do it
Yeah.
in life, and they don't want to do it in the work environment either,
Yeah.
because they're jockeying for a position.
Yeah.
They want to be at the top of the food chain when in actuality they just plankton. They are. Or people want to be these coaches, okay? And I get that. They want to be a coach, but they still sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And I will call you out on that in a
Yeah.
politeful kind of way to say, you know what? This is disingenuous. You
Yeah.
want to show up with this big $25 word tattooed on your chest that says authentic, and you don't have any idea of what that means. You want
Yeah.
to have it tattooed on your back, empowered. You can't empower me. I have to
Yeah.
empower me,
You're
you
right.
know?
You're
But the
right.
word joy is ours and hope is ours. And so
Yes.
I'm really hoping that we get together and we bring back the joy. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
are a power player. I keep giving you your flowers. Really, you are an influence to the next generation. I held a fundraiser here at my home,
Mm-hmm.
had all these young millennials. And I sat there and it was a listening party for me because I came with my 62-year-old values.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is the world it is today.
Yeah.
We had transgenders there. We had young cat women there with no kids and don't ever want kids. We had we had entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
We had people there that wanted to be W-2 employees, but I listened to what was important to them. And the
Mm-hmm.
basic common denominator was, they want a roof over their head, and it could be a tiny house.
Yeah.
They want to be able to work remotely. They want clean water. They want, to be able to have an education, um, and to be able to afford things. I think the economy was the biggest thing. What do you find with the group that you're working with and you're mentoring with? What are some of the common denominators there?
Well, some of the biggest things are at that stage of your career, it is really about making an impact. Like, what are you going to be known for? So that's one thing. And then growing the next generation of leaders is another thing. And so, something that's really interesting, like you just said, the millennials, they don't want to work like we worked, or they may not want to, a tiny house is great. And there are some really nice tiny houses. I have a
I
sister who
know.
loves, right?
I know.
I have a sister who loves tiny homes and that sort of van life, and she told us all not to be surprised if she goes off the grid one day. And I said,
Right. They
as long as
don't
we can
want
reach you,
they
okay?
don't want the yard, they don't want the housekeeper, they don't want any of that. They want to be able to get up and go and be mobile.
Yeah,
They
I
want
think
freedom.
Yeah, I was going to say that is what I sense. And that was the thing that I really wanted mostly. I really wanted to be able to live my life the way I wanted to live. I wanted freedom. That was, when I became introspective and really got clear on what I wanted, who I was, what I wanted, and why, what I discovered it was really about freedom. And my love for the arts was about freedom of expression. And it wasn't so much that I needed to go and to be on the stage, but what I wanted was I wanted to be free to be me. Now, when I was invited to run that women's initiative and I moved away from a more technical role and into an HR organization, I felt like I had an opportunity. I took the role because I said, I want to be able to take a chance on me and do some of the creative things I really want to do. And I really want to put the energy into helping some brilliant women get to where they want to be. And so it was a different a space for me to be in. I was creative in my technical things, in fact, even in school. And that's a whole nother story because my profs were like, can you just do the scientific processing? I was creating graphics and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it's a whole nother story. But but the reality is it gave me an opportunity to really understand where people were, what were their concerns. When I was invited to that role, one of the things I said, it wasn't really where I saw my career going because we had been talking about something else. And I made a comment that I can't be all things to all women, which over time became somewhat of a joke because I did have the opportunity to do some amazing things, like even define benefits, paternity leave and all kinds of things like that, maternity and covering various surgeries and various things like that. So I had the opportunity to participate on so many different levels than what I thought I was going to have. And so I think I was integrous, I was for the women, and they would come to me a lot. People would put time on my calendar to discuss issues and challenges, and everybody still wanted to contribute at a high level. People were reaching ages in their stages in their lives where they became caregivers. They were about to have to become caregivers, like I am now, and care for their parents. While some of them had young children, there were women in other parts of the world who, for example, someone is coming to mind who was a Chinese woman working in China. They had the one child, and not only was she responsible for her child, but also for both sets of parents. So there were so many different challenges and things the opportunities to help the women get what they really wanted. They wanted to be successful, and I think they wanted to be fulfilled and do something meaningful and really leave a mark and make a difference on, in the industry, in the company, in their areas. And so those desires still exist. And sometimes we lose sight of that when we're climbing the ladder. So it's very important that we not lose ourselves in the climb. It's very important that we're grounded. We
You
understand
know what all
what
that
we want.
equals? It all equals choice.
It does equal choice. It equals choice, but it also means that you must be clear on what it is you really want. Because some choices were made, out of, I really want to go as far as I can in my career. And, specific women are coming to mind. I want to go as far as I can in my career. But then relationships were compromised. And so when I think of that sort of person, I think of, for example, Amanda Priestley, right, in The Devil Wears Prada. If you saw that movie, right? She's all about the career. She is the job.
Right.
And but she was about her third marriage was about to dissolve. She didn't know her children. And it was what would she have? And I think there's one scene where they were trying to oust her and put someone else in the role.
Right.
She had so much dirt on other people, right?
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right.
but in reality though, what are you if that's the woman that you have the space that you've moved in, who are you without that? you define yourself by
Absolutely.
your title, the work you do, the money you have, but you came here without all of that and you were a whole person in the beginning. And so part of the work we
And when
do
you
is
leave, all
go
that's
back.
not going to
Yeah,
be
you're not going to
packed in
take
your
it,
coffin.
right? But it's great to leave a legacy, right? That is an
Absolutely.
amazing thing. And we're all leaving a legacy anyway. It's just, is it by, by default or by design? And so my work is to really help them make it by design and really help them to, to be able to show up fully and to not have regrets for, even if there are things that you regret. Hey, let's find the value in that, and let's take what is still going to work for you, and let's go forward. And how we go forward, and where we go forward, what we go forward, is part of what comes out of the work.
Right.
So I
And it
never
and
try to
filter
make
and
people leave
pivot.
their job. I don't. That's not what I'm here for. My goal is to help them to to be who they are, and to fare better in the role, and to build trust, and to maybe take some things off your plate. Grow someone else. You don't always have to be in control, and that says a lot coming from me. Okay, if my coworkers could hear me say this, which they might, depending on where this is. But yeah, so it really is about having, you mentioned the word joy. I believe that, I just hold this belief, we can be both successful and fulfilled, and we can have it all, but we have to be the ones who define what it all
It
means to
is,
us.
right.
We can't
And
let
we
someone
also
else
have
do
to
that.
be open enough to be vulnerable and delegate,
Yes, we
to let
absolutely do.
other people share in the success, because not
Yes,
only are you teaching these women
yes,
to be strong leaders, but a strong leader also pours
yes,
into a team
yes,
and looks for
absolutely.
the pours in to that team and expresses the value,
Yeah,
the design, what others bring to the table,
yeah. And
because
there is a
it's
line of
a
succession,
collaborative.
right? Someone
Exactly.
to come
There is
behind
a
you,
line.
right? Yeah,
Well, you would think that, but again, you look at the world today and the
it
climate,
should be.
and I'm saying to myself, and we hate to talk politics, but for Joe Biden to step down was huge. You know, no matter how you feel, that's huge. I mean, you are the leader of the free world, and you say, you know what, maybe it's time. That took a lot of courage, and that's what it takes in the world today. Is that we need courage. So many people feel, oh, well, you know what, I'm gonna die at this, and people are gonna look over my grave and say, oh my God, Kim and April, they really were hard workers. I want them to say I was compassionate, that I was empathetic, that I made an imprint, that I made a difference,
Yes.
that I mentored somebody, that the total was more important than the individual parts.
Yeah.
And people just, they just don't do that. They're just so selfish. With 8 billion people on the planet, you got a lot of nerve, brains. You got a lot of nerve to think that. I want to talk a little bit about your contributions to the anthologies. Tell us a little bit
Hmm.
about the books and what you contributed to those projects.
Sure, sure. I do want to just kind of touch on something that you just said, and people being selfish, and I think it can be viewed as that, and sometimes it absolutely is, right? But I think other times people don't really know, or they haven't given thought. This is the only way they know to operate. And so when you can show them a different way, that a lot of times they will, kind of release some things, or kind of start to move differently and change and things. But sometimes people just don't know. And you have to think, these are smart people, bright people, they're running major organizations. How could they not know?
Yeah, and I
Well,
was just going to ask you that. How do you not know?
yeah. Well, it depends, right? On, you have to look a lot into who the person is. That's why we start with that clarity phase, and what it is that brought them to where they are. And sometimes there are some hard things to address and to deal with and to release and to let go. To realize that, oh, this has started because my third grade teacher said X, Y, and Z, and I've spent the whole rest of my life, disproving X, Y, and Z versus
Okay.
proving what it was I wanted to prove. And so it takes the work to, so you're a person of compassion. I have compassion when it comes to those areas. And so just
No,
helping
no,
people to
I
work
know,
through
and
things.
that's a very valid point. It's a
Yeah.
very valid point because again, they're sometimes stuck in this echo
Yeah.
chamber
Yeah.
of, again, and I use this just as an example, is that you were told that
Yeah.
this is what you were going to be. It was ingrained in you, it was instilled in you.
Yeah.
That's what you morphed into, and it worked out well. But I mean, but some people could have resisted that and destroyed their family life and turned to alcohol and drugs and not capitalized on it. So I get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah,
That's very
yeah,
valid. Very
yeah.
valid.
So my anthologies, the very first one I was a contributor in was this book called Living Proof, celebrating the gifts that came wrapped in sandpaper, which the lead author was Lisa Nichols, and so it was a pleasure working with Lisa and the group on this book. And my story in here is actually called Shine, and it's called Shine because I had a very traumatic event in my life. I had a stalker. I had a stalker who one day was in my apartment when I came home, and we fought. He shot at me, and it sort of really changed my life for about, I don't know, the better part of a 10-year period. And I hid a lot. I gave back the crown and all these kinds of things. So I just kind of went into the background, and where I love color and colorful things, I started to only wear black and maybe gray, and I just, all the various things I went through. It was a very traumatic period in my life. And so she is a person who had really helped me to come back into, the spotlight. Not like I'm on a stage and the light is shining, but, come out from the shadows, right? And so that story really is about me coming back to who I was and beginning to do some of the things that I loved doing. So this book is filled with stories of people who overcame some very insurmountable, challenges. And so many people have those stories. And it was very cathartic for me to write the story and to get it out of my, I don't know, I felt like it was just a part of who I was, my DNA, my cells, and everything. And it did shape my life in some very negative ways. But over time, I've been able to overcome those things and turn them around. And so that's what this is really about. So that was my contribution to that
That's
book.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
And this next book, this one is called Dare to Be a Difference Maker.
Mm.
So this is with Michelle Prince, who is with the Ziegler Foundation and has been charged with helping to keep his legacy alive. And so this book was really about, okay, April, what's really interesting is I realized that as I've contributed in, like, I think three different anthologies. This first one was kind of coming out of the shadows. This second one was sort of realizing, hey, there is something more that I want out of life and more that I want to do. It was around that time, when I'm laying on the massage table with the tears crying, and it shouldn't be this intense. And there's this voice of something on the inside of me that was, struggling to get my attention. And I envisioned that at some point, it would have just probably expired, right? In the story, I talk about how it was on life support, but it would have probably expired. But I started to pay attention to it and was able to, bring some of those things, even the artsy things into my technical career. I'm doing some
Right.
pretty great things, and so it was fun to be able to do that as well. And I was actually invited to be on the front cover, which was kind of cool. And the title of my story in here is When Why Asks Why. So
Mm.
my why was asking me why, more like, why are you ignoring what you really want out of life and really want to do, and going through the motions? And I guess it's around this time I saw the research that said the number one regret people have on their deathbed is living life the way they were expected to live,
Mm.
not the way they wanted to live.
Mm.
And for me, I wanted to, I didn't want that to be my story. And it is a driving factor for me today. I don't want that to be anyone else's story. I love quotes. And one of the most impactful ones I've ever heard was that, I think it was Dr. George Washington Carver who said that no man, and this is a Kimism, or woman, okay, has any right to come into the world and go out of it without leaving distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it.
Mm.
So, my distinct and legitimate reason is really to help other women to do it by design and not by default, and not have that number one regret, when they reach that time of transition. So
Mm.
it is a mission for me in my life to really help women to see that you can be both successful and fulfilled. You can have professional success and personal fulfillment, and you don't have to choose between the two. It's how you do it. And
Wow.
I'm an
Wow.
engineer, so I
You
believe
are
that fulfillment's not a fantasy, it's a formula. So,
you're a ringmaster as well because again, you got a lot of balls in the air, really, and it's juggling a lot. But again, having a skilled professional with compassion that's done that to work with you, to
yeah,
coach you, to
yeah,
reignite her light is beautiful. So
yeah.
let's ask you some fun questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, do you have a cat?
I am not a cat lover. I had a dog.
You have a dog?
I had a dog for he was almost 17. He was a beautiful golden cocker spaniel. His name was Sebastian. And he passed away probably like 6 years ago. And I just have not gotten another animal because he was so amazing. And I wanted to get another cocker, but our vet said, nope, you need to get a different dog because you're going to have these expectations that he'll be like Sebastian.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out what other dog I might want.
Well, the coyote jumped over the fence, kidnapped my dog, and ate him.
Oh my gosh.
And
That
I
that's
just
trauma right there.
it is
Oh my
trauma. It
gosh.
is trauma. And I loved Pierre. But I had an
Oh.
animal chandler on my show. And she
Oh, okay.
handled him. And she told me that he told her I was a great mom and thank you for everything and for saving his life. And it was a quick kill and he's doing fine. So
Oh.
all dogs go to heaven. So he's up there with Sebastian getting treats. If you could be an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
So we have a lot of appliances in our kitchen because we like gadgets and things, but I think of everything that's in there, I would probably be like the NutriBullet. And the reason I say that is because it's like an expeller, an extractor, and you put the things in it, and it goes and it pulls out, all the nutrients and things like that, and you can drink it, like, but it doesn't have leftover fiber like a juicer and leave parts out, right? So, I feel like it's taking the good and using the good, but realizing that things that may not have been favorable still help to shape who you are, and you still kind of build on top of that. Those are building blocks still of who you are, but there's
That's
a lot of goodness in it, so it gets straight to the goodness, goes through all that. So that's probably what I
talking
would be.
about goodness. If you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor
What
would
would
you
I
be?
be? Oh my gosh. So I'm trying to see if what flavor I would be. Not, you didn't ask me what is my favorite flavor. So what
Oh,
flavor
what
would
flavor
I
would you be?
be?
Right.
Yes, so those are two different things. And so I feel like I might be something tropical. Um I'm not
Like
sure,
a
like,
mango sorbet.
yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah, like a mango sorbet, something tropical. And I say that because it's lightly flavored, it's very refreshing, it's very cool. The I think, it's all cold, so the temperature could potentially, give you brain freeze,
Hmm.
but it settles down, and it's just relaxing, and it's I think it's pleasurable. So while I can be intense in doing what I do enjoy fun, and I do enjoy the beauty of nature, and I do enjoy, traveling and things like that. So there's that, sort of smooth, kind of just cool, like this is good sort of a flavor.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. Just lays on your palate and
Yeah,
does
just
whatever it
lazy.
does. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
What would you say to a 25-year-old Kim W. Martin?
That's such a great question. What I would say to a 25-year-old Kim W. Martin is, girl, relax, do the thing. Like, it is going to be okay. And I would tell myself to be true to you, to be, authentic. I probably would have I would tell myself to, your parents are going to be okay with what it is that you really want to do, and don't sell yourself short. You can rock it. You can.
Absolutely. So, if you could time travel,
Hmm.
go back to the past, stay here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
Hmm. I think that I might stay here in the present. And I would stay here because I believe that I was created for such a time as this. And I believe that there is a huge mission for me to accomplish. And being here in the present, you have the benefit of learning from the past and the benefit of working to make the future brighter. So I love where I am. I don't think that I want to escape, to the future and go past some things. And I don't think that I want to, go back and try and change things. I don't know that I would change too many things, even the traumatic things, because they've all had a place and helped me to be who I am and shape where I am. So this is a phenomenal time in history to be here. I don't want to read about it in a book. I want to live it and have my own piece of it that could be written about in a book.
That's beautiful because me, I want a projectile, baby. I want to be in 3000. I do. I want to check out the rings of Uranus and Jupiter and Saturn. I want to be sitting out there because been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I don't want to relive this again. Already done that. The present, I'm grateful
Yeah,
because I live a beautiful life. I'm
yeah,
married to an amazing man. I've got a great kid. I've got my health. I've got my
yes,
mind. I've got
yes,
my show, great guests like you that are making me responsible for the message that I share and put out, that are
yeah,
making me accountable to myself, that is making me uh, really investigate and do the deep dive into other people's situations to be more compassionate,
yeah,
you know, and establish, some parameters.
yes,
I say boundaries most of the time, but
yeah,
I don't want boundaries. I don't want to be stuck. I want to
yeah,
have parameters. I want to be able to have
parameters.
that flexibility to
Yeah,
expand or contract when necessary. So yeah,
yes.
no, I'm straightforward thinking. I'm getting on that space shuttle or SpaceX or whatever it is. And in closing, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be one that says, she was honest, she was trustworthy, she lived true to her values. She was a forward thinker, she was compassionate, and she was a lover of life, and she wanted everyone else to live a life that they would, look back on and smile, and to understand that you talked about boundaries. Yeah, like a lot of times the boundaries we have are ones that we put in place in our minds and they hold us back. But I want people to spread their wings and fly. And a friend once told me, we hadn't talked in a while, and she's like, "What are you up to now? I know you're doing something." Well, yeah, I am going to be doing something.
Right,
Right?
right, 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 right.
So life is too amazing, too great, and too grand to not experience it. And so I want people to live fully, live faithfully, and live fulfilled. That's what I want to help to usher in and help to bring to the planet and to our time.
Well, that's a tall glass of water.
It is.
Thank
For
you
a
so
short
much.
little girl.
Absolutely. Petite. There's nothing short
Petite.
about you.
Yeah.
Petite. So, Kim, please tell
Thank
my
you.
my brains how to get in contact with you to get more information on uh, reignite her light and to
Yes.
purchase a copy of the anthologies.
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with me is via email. So my email comes to my phone, and there's usually not a place I'm not where I can't get my email. So I am at Kim at reignite her light. Kim at reignite her light. Email is the best way to reach me.
Okay. And that's reigniteherlight.com.
Yes, I'm
The
sorry,
email?
dot com. Dot com.
.com. Okay. All
It
right.
is a dot com.
We're
Yes.
going to put all that information at the back of the interview. We're going to go back. We're going to listen to this. We are not going to get caught up in uh, a pigeonhole. We're not stuck. We are caterpillars metamorphosizing into butterflies. We want to make that transition. We want to fly.
Yes.
And, you've got people here, right here, that is willing and able to help carry you, to perch you, to nurture you and love you while you're in this cocoon, trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck. Enjoy life. If you're a hard charger, if you are a high profile executive woman, that's okay. But sometimes step back, take off your shoes, and wiggle your toes in the sand. Thank you so much for being
Indeed.
on the edge with me. Kim, Brains, do your due diligence. I need you to love, like, share, and subscribe. Follow Kim on social media. Go in, have a consultation with her. You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
Because she's a power play. I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite interviews already this year. I'm loving it. I
Aw.
see her light. All right. I will talk to you guys again soon. But before I talk to you, have a talk with yourself. Bye.